welcome and thanks for being with us here at the table. I'm Rachel and today I am joined by these lovely ladies for a cuppa and a chat. We've got Shona, Rach and Mary Ellen. How are you, ladies?
Good, and you?
Good. Yeah, I reckon I'm okay. We're good to get into today?
Yep.
Excellent. Well, today we get to chat to Professor Mimi Tang. She's an expert in allergies and immune deficiency and disorders. Now, if your child does have a food allergy, you're actually going to want to stick around for that. It's a really interesting topic. We also get to chat about mum guilt. Should we be letting go of it or embracing it? And we've got some handy home hacks. We've got Gia and Olive in the kitchen cooking some winter oats. But we're going to start with what's becoming a disturbing new trend. The Sun News outlet has reported that a 15-year-old boy from North London is set to become the first to be officially diagnosed with an internet gaming addiction. Now, this is by the National Health Service in the UK. His mum said she tried everything to halt the addiction, particularly to the game Fortnite, which currently is all the rage. And now he's spent 12 months off school trying to battle this. Mary Ellen, what did you make of this article?
It was quite confronting.
Yeah.
I see Fortnite on my Facebook feed pretty much constantly. I have a lot of friends that play it. I know a lot of people that play it. And it's just, I just found it really uncomfortable, the fact that this mother, when she was having the interview on the morning show in Britain, that she was so attacked by comments from different mums on Twitter and things saying, you know, you're not parenting correctly. And it sort of makes me think maybe we're not doing enough, or parents aren't doing enough to sort of combat these things. I don't know, like,
Ooh.
I don't know. But I think it's definitely a relevant thing to think
that's
about.
a fair point. Why isn't it not?
Oh, come on, it's a bit steep. The lady had 5 children and she was on her own.
Yes.
It's not like she had a husband. And also, you can't constantly monitor what your children are doing 24 hours a day, other than take their phones off them. And I'm sorry, but if you're going to take your phones off, he was 15, and you're going to cope with that spaz attack, no.
Well, she said she sort of tried to put his computer at a friend's house for a while.
Yeah.
He still found a way to find the game.
Well, I feel like that would be really, I think that wouldn't be enough, you know? Obviously, at 15, he's going to be resourceful. There's so many places you can get access to internet, you know, besides your house. This isn't 1990 where you have like one dial-up connected.
Yes.
Yeah, so if he's resourceful enough to play the game, he's going to be resourceful enough to, you know, find ways. I think you have to start at an age earlier than 15, you know, because he's already in this mode of playing video games and maybe like developing other interests in him. But I don't think we should be coming down on the mother. Like, obviously, if she came to a TV show to talk about it, she didn't come, no one signs up to do that.
She wanted help.
She
wanted help. It's not like she was out there broadcasting, I've been a bad mother and look what my child's doing.
Yeah.
She actually
she
came
was crying
for help.
out for help.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I'm just saying there is a point where we can't just let it all be with the parent, but we can't let it all be with someone else or the gaming company as well. We're sort of...
But the gaming companies aren't held accountable for what they're doing.
And they should be, because the mechanisms that they build into those games to addict people. It's the hook. And like the thing was with Fortnite, it's a free game and there's in-game purchases. It's free, and that's the thing, because 15-year-olds can just, you know, download the game and there's no barrier there.
But how much should we be regulating? Like, I completely agree with you, because I've been seeing lots of articles and even watched a video yesterday about some of these hooks that they're putting into the game. But how much should we be regulating, you know, the gaming industry, that they shouldn't be doing these things? And how much is the parent's responsibility? Because we're not talking about, you know, a grown adult here.
Well, some of it is grown adults, isn't it?
Yeah, but
some of it is 30 and 40-year-old men who are hooked into this as well. It's not just 8 and 9-year-old kids. It's across the board. We're starting to regulate sugar. We're regulating plastic bags. We're regulating a whole lot of stuff. Why are we not regulating the internet?
But is there, can I ask this, be the devil's advocate, is there any positives to gaming?
Ask the digital lady.
Well, you know, it's funny because I've been having this conversation in a community that I, you know, run online, and I asked this question about Fortnite and the addictions, and I thought that the responses were going to be, you know, about maybe some of the positives and negatives around gaming, but I feel like 30 responses were all about how we're coming down on Fortnite now, but, you know, 10 years ago or 5 years ago would have just been a different game. So I think most of the
is it a phase then?
I think it's a phase on this game, but it'll be another game in 5 years. You know, it'll always be the next thing. So I think we don't talk enough about what kids are observing their parents doing. They observe us with our screens, you know, so it then becomes more normal for them to...
Monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah.
It is frightening when your child says to you, Mum, can you get off the computer to do this with me? Like, heck, how long have I been here? Yeah, I don't know.
I have to say, though, of all the things we talk about on the table, we talk about, you know, genetic conditions, we talk about all kinds of things that can happen to kids. I think, honestly, the internet is the biggest barrier for me about wanting to have kids. I think it's the biggest turn off for me because there's no way to regulate it.
Yeah.
And it's so scary, you know, having a child in their bedroom with a phone.
You
What
have
are
to
they doing?
start at a really young age and have the conversations.
Yep, I think there's a lot we have to do as parents, but it would be really nice if our community would also get on board. Well, as a mum, the phrase, "I feel so guilty," often produces a knowing look or a very forced smile from other mums. "We had takeaway last night because we were too tired. I didn't play with my kids as much as that mum does. I don't give them enough responsibility. I give them too much responsibility." That's only a few out of the gazillion reasons parents can feel guilty. Well, Belle Mooney writes for the Daily Mail about what she sees as the 5 stages of guilt that a mother goes through in her parental journey. Rach, what did you make of this? Could you relate to the early ones?
Yeah, because obviously I didn't get to the later ones because she splits it between preschool age, junior age, then getting into young adulthood, and then to the granny stage. So obviously I've only experienced that beginning one. But I remember when I was first pregnant, my sister-in-law, I mentioned something that I felt guilty, and my sister-in-law said, "Welcome to motherhood." That for the rest of
Constant guilt.
of time I would feel guilty. But she splits it between saying in the beginning stage, like, why am I so bored? Why do I feel lonely? To I feel so jealous of the nanny. I'm not sure how many women identify with this one, of feeling jealous of the nanny, but not feeling like present enough, feeling like other people are taking care of your kids. Then their bad behavior is all my fault. I didn't love them enough by the time you get to the young adult stage. And then why can't I keep my mouth shut? So
That's where I'm at.
I was like, I'm not looking at you, Shona, but
She's been there for a while. So which ones could you identify with?
All of them.
Yeah.
Part of me was going like, oh, come on, stop feeling guilty, because we all feel guilty. I don't care whether you're a hovering mother or a non-hovering mother or the caring mother or whatever. We all have that guilt.
Yeah.
And I think that it's passed on from generation to generation to generation. And at some point, we just need to stop and say, you were a good mum. You are a good mum.
Why do you think we feel the guilt though? Like, because I've thought about this, I'm like, is it my culture that's putting it on me, or is it me putting it on me? Like, why do you think we feel such guilt about not being these perfect parents?
Well, I have no experience with this, but if, guilt I think just stems from inadequacy. Isn't that like the root of guilt? Inadequacy?
It's because you
I certainly
see
feel inadequate.
others. You see others and think that's how you should be.
I think that's part of it. The other part is in so many parts of life, if you put X in, you're going to get Y results. But with your children, like you can put in certain, you can do certain things. You can put inputs in. You have no idea what the outcome's going to be, And then when you see the other side, you just feel like, all that must be my fault,
Yes, that's the one I'm looking down the barrel of now. Like, my kids are at school and I'm really nervous about it because I'm so sure I'm going to blame myself for their bad behaviour, because I know what I'm doing now impacts what comes later.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of performance related to parenting. I was in a music class with Jax just yesterday, and the music teacher at one point, he was squirming and I was trying to hold him firmly in place, and she made a note that she was like, Rachel, sometimes you need to learn how to like push and pull in parenting. And she's like, it's a very difficult balance to know how much to hang on to your kid, how much to let go. And it is, because we're very performance driven. Like many of our personalities are performance driven, and then we put that on our children as well.
Yeah. They're given to you for such a short time, and I've had this reflection back now because mine are both young adults, and by next year they will have left home, and I'm looking back at what I've done with my children, and a friend of mine is doing the same thing because her children are there too, and she's really negative about it. And I said, your children are lovely. You need to appreciate the parenting that you've done. Let go of them because you've parented as well as you have. You can't hold on to them forever.
And it's so much easier to see the negative things that you've done than the positives. You always hold on to that.
Yes. Your children will grow up beautiful. You just have to give them your best.
But sorry.
I was just going to say it's a challenge as well, because we think that if our children don't behave a certain way, then we can't maybe have that love for them. But I think it's about having this acceptance for whoever they are as people, instead of them fitting into this box that we have for them.
Yeah, and fitting into
I'm
the
speaking
box
to myself, I think.
that society often puts on us subconsciously. We don't always realise, but I've had women in the shop, like in the shopping centre, look at my kids and you're like, oh my goodness, what are they doing? And you're like, hang on, why am I jumping when you're looking at my child like that? They're allowed to be themselves, but it's just a natural thing that happens. Has anyone ever had a quick chat with their mum about their own sort of guilt journey and motherhood at all, or?
Like the way we feel guilty.
Yeah, or what their journey was like with us as kids.
Yeah, I haven't had that specific conversation, but maybe it's something I'll go and chat with her about.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's certainly something that we all have to deal with, but I think we should all remember we're doing the very best we can. And look at us. We've all turned out great. So take some consolation from that. Well, next we're going into the kitchen with Gia and Olive. They're going to make some winter oats. Take a look.
Hi everyone, these overnight oats me and Moses have every morning and they're really delicious.
Yay! Are they?
Yeah, you could make them for breakfast.
For breakfast, yep. And she's right, my children have overnight winter oats for breakfast nearly every day. It's my go-to, it's easy. If you don't have a slow cooker or a pressure cooker, please invest in one. It will be the best thing you've ever done. You can use any recipe in these and it'll cook it in 10 minutes, 5 minutes. Are you tired? Mwah. If you go on our website, you'll find the recipe for this and it'll show you both the slow cooker and the pressure cooker method. And today I'm going to use a pressure cooker, but if you've got a slow cooker, just throw all these ingredients in your slow cooker at night and then in the morning, all 4 of you, 5 of you, no matter how many people you've got in the house, you've all got breakfast ready to go. So I'm going to use still cut oats. The groat's the least processed, but then you've got rolled oats, and rolled oats are used like they're steamed and they're pressed, and so, but these are the real deal, and it's so hearty. So I've used 1 cup. You can double if you've got a big family, you can double the recipe, or if you want to just make a big batch for the week. I use 2 cups of any non-dairy milk, soy or almond milk or rice milk. So 2 cups of that, and then just 1 cup of water. So it's 3 cups. So in this recipe also, I love using dates because they're a whole food. They've got lots of iron and lots of good stuff in them, and it'll sweeten the porridge without having to use any. Thank you. So just dates, and we just chop them up. So it's 2 dates, 3 dates, no matter how many you want to put in there, you can. And a whole banana. I just mash it up in there with my fingers or just cut it. You can have one here, there you go. Oh, you're dying for it, aren't you? And I like to put cinnamon in mine. Actually, I'll have to wash my hands because it's gross. Cinnamon, so 1 teaspoon, 1 tablespoon, half a teaspoon. You can buy any of these pressure cookers. They're quite cheap now. You can go to like Targets, Big W's, all those supermarkets. Some supermarkets even sell them. And it's just with a busy life, it's just really good to have. So I put it on seal. Let me put it on for 2 minutes, and then I press start, and then I go about my morning. So with the still cut oats, you put it on manual for 3 minutes. If you're using just oats, rolled oats, you can just do it for 2 minutes, but 3 minutes if it's still cut, because they're just a bit thicker. We're going to come back to this when it's finished, and we're going to show you what they look like. It was music to my ears. It just rang, and it was like bing, bing. So I know my breakfast is ready, or our breakfast is ready. So I'm just going to turn it off. As soon as it's finished, turn it off, and I'm going to vent the steam out. So is it unlocking? So it's not unlocking, but now once the steam is gone, it'll unlock. There you go. Unlocked. And there you have it. Okay, so can you see that? Right now, it actually looks quite watery, but this is actually going to thicken up. So by the time everyone starts serving it out, I might serve some out here so we can... And this will thicken up as a couple more minutes and it'll be really thick. So there you go. You've got your overnight oats, and I love using berries on top. And some people like to drizzle honey, but you don't need to, because inside here I've got the dates and the banana, and it really sweetens it up. So try this recipe. Like I said, if you don't have still cut oats, get yourself rolled oats or quick oats and do the exact same amounts that I used, either overnight or in the pressure cooker in the morning. In 2 minutes, you've got your breakfast. Enjoy.
Thanks, Gia and Olive. For more great plant-based recipes, we're offering a free cookbook today. It's called Everyday Essentials. So to get a free copy of this book, just email us your name, your address, and Everyday Essentials to hello@thetabletv.com. If you'd prefer to call us, that's fine. The phone details in Australia and New Zealand are on your screen. Just leave your name, your address, and the title of our free giveaway book today, Everyday Essentials. Well, we're privileged today to have with us Professor Mimi Tang, a lead allergy researcher for Murdoch Children's Research Institute and an expert in the field of allergy and immune deficiency disorders. She consults to the Victorian Department of Education and Early Childhood Development regarding anaphylaxis management in schools and daycare. Professor Tang, thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome.
This is such an up-and-coming topic, and when I say that, I know it's been around for a while, but when I talk to mums now, often the conversation will come around to food allergies, food intolerance, and what their dietary requirements are. This seems to really be on the rise. Is that the truth?
Yes, I'm the same. I go to parties and lunches and someone always comes up to me and starts talking about food allergy. So it's definitely on the rise. There's a little bit of awareness helping us recognise it more often, but looking at the statistics, there's quite good evidence that numbers of food allergy cases and anaphylaxis due to foods are increasing, particularly in the Western countries. Australia, the UK and the US have all been affected by these increases. Our studies are showing more than threefold rise in the last 10 to 20 years.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Very high, very high. And now, you know, any of your children in school, there would be a child with a food allergy in their class, probably.
In most classes, isn't
Whereas
it?
when I grew up, hardly anybody in the school had a food allergy. Nobody really knew about food allergies, right?
So why are we seeing this?
Yeah, that's a really good question. What we know is that they've gone up quickly, as I just explained. So it's gone up way too quickly to be due to our genes. It's likely to be changes in the environment over the last half a century. And the most important factors we believe at play are microbial exposures and the diet.
Sorry, come again.
Microbial exposures. What we
Right.
mean by that is exposures to bugs in the community, in the environment. And actually, it's the exposures that you have from the time of conception all the way through to, say, your third year of life that establish the type of bugs you carry in your gut.
Oh, we're coming back to gut health.
Gut health. And we now understand that the type of bugs that you carry in your gut are very important in educating the immune system to be healthy. So if you have an optimal gut microbiota, your immune system will be trained very well to not react to things that are not harmful. So, for example, there's allergens in the environment all the time, right? There's pollen, there's foods that we eat, and the healthy gut immune system knows not to respond. It just knows that, no, they're not harmful, I'm going to be tolerant. And what happens in food allergy is that somewhere along the way, the immune system hasn't received the right level of education and it becomes a bit overreactive to things. Now, it's obviously not going to react to everything because even the children with food allergy aren't allergic to all foods. They're only allergic to a couple and not even all the allergens, right? So there is something that happens at the time of first encounter with the allergen that makes the allergy happen. But it seems if your immune system hasn't had the right training, it's more likely to go down the wrong path.
So, Professor Tang, are we seeing these increase in allergies in developing countries as well, or is it just within the Western
That's
world?
such a great question. It's particularly evident in the developed world, but we have seen studies showing rising prevalence in developing countries as well. Now, here's something very interesting. We've done a couple of research studies in Melbourne showing that if you are of Asian heritage and you're born in Asia and then come here later on, your risk of food allergy is lower than, say, a Caucasian baby born in Australia. However, if you're from Asian heritage and you arrive in Australia, the parents come to Australia and then the baby's born here, their rates of food allergy are even higher than the Caucasian born in Australia. So there's clearly a genetic factor that's present, but being born in a developing country seems to be protective and overrides that risk.
And why is that? What's happening in the developing country?
I believe it's microbial exposures.
So when we think of that as normal people, is that like the kids playing in the dirt or eating stuff from the floor, less cleaning products, like chemical cleaning products? and things?
Sanitizers.
Yeah.
I actually think it's more than that. I mean, the natural default is to say, oh, well, we're all being a little bit too careful with the kids and not letting them roll around in the dirt, and that's probably true to some degree. But I actually believe that the environment is different now in the bugs that are around. So in westernised countries over the last half century to a century, we've had increasing sanitation. So you don't catch cholera here from drinking tap water, you don't get typhoid. And there's just basically the burden of bacteria and organisms is much lower in our environment than it is in these developing countries. And I think that it's this overall burden of both good bugs and bad bugs that help the immune system get trained. It's a bit like training.
So what can we be doing then to ensure that young kids are not having their immune system overreact to the wrong things?
I think what I would recommend is having a broad diet that's inclusive of fruits and vegetables in the mum during pregnancy. That would then help support a healthy gut microbiota for mum at the time of the baby's development and birth. We know that vaginal delivery provides an optimal gut microbiota because the baby gets seeding bacteria from the mum. And then, of course, breastfeeding is associated with a healthier microbiota. And subsequent to that, the baby being weaned onto a healthy diet as well, full of fruits and vegetables.
It's au natural.
Yeah, it really is. And, you know, I was saying this earlier to Rachel, that we can think of the gut microbiota as like a healthy lawn. And what you need is the seeds as well as the fertiliser. And so, you know, the seeds are the bacteria that the baby might get from their mum at the time of birth. And then the fertiliser is the diet that the baby is weaned onto, and, you know, the breast milk followed by a healthy diet full of fruits and vegetables. That's going to support a really optimum gut microbiota.
So you talk about putting the children onto solids. How do you introduce foods to a toddler with trying to avoid the allergies? Because we've been told, you know, don't introduce peanuts too early, and, you know, don't give them farrics
as well.
Yeah. There's a lot of mixed messages. So how do we go about doing that?
So the first thing I need to probably clarify is that message is no longer correct.
Right.
So the message about delaying the introduction of allergenic solids to reduce the risk of allergies has now been proven untrue. And we were recommending that until probably 2008. We did update the Australasian Society of Clinical Immunology and Allergy guidelines for preventing food and other allergy problems. And at that point we said, actually, there's no evidence to show that delaying the introduction of allergenic solids reduces your risk of developing allergy problems. Now, what happened in 2015, a very important study was published showing for the first time that it's actually better to introduce these allergenic solids earlier. So one of the things you can do to prevent your child developing food allergy, in answer to your question before, is to introduce solids, including the allergenic solids, from around 6 months and before the first year of life. So in that sort of second 6 months of life is a really great time to try and introduce as many different foods as you possibly can. And another study has shown that, you know, the more diverse a child's diet is in that weaning period, the less likely they are to have food allergy also. So there are all these factors coming in, you know, if we just have a broad diet.
Do pets play a role in sort of helping that? I've heard two stories, so, you know, how they have a lot of bacteria and that sort of thing. Does that sort of help the process of I don't know, feeding off an allergy at all?
Absolutely. So you guys have done a bit of research. The other factor that we identify as protecting against allergy problems overall is having a pet in the home when the baby's born. So that timing's quite important, actually. So, and it's mainly dogs that seem to be protective. I don't know if that's because you cuddle them more. They're much easier to cuddle, aren't they, than a cat?
Oh, here we go.
I'm a dog
We're not going down that road.
yeah, I have to say I'm a dog person. But anyway, yeah, having a dog in the home when you're born will reduce the chances of you developing an allergy problem, not just food allergies, but asthma and eczema. The confusion that you mentioned, Rachel, is because if you already have asthma, and you're allergic to cats, let's say, which is a common allergen for people with asthma, then having pets is not good for your asthma.
Right.
And it will trigger your symptoms. So it depends on the situation, the conditions that a person has, whether you're talking about prevention or, you know, treatment of an allergy problem.
Well, I guess that leads to the next big question. Is there a cure? Is there anything on the horizon that might sort of people can look forward to and have hope in?
Sadly, at this time, there is no cure for food allergies, and this is actually a problem. So we ask families that, I should say patients, when they have a food allergy, just avoid your allergen. Well, guess what? It's not easy to do. And we do know that allergy reactions are common. In America, they reported that every 3 minutes, a person presents to the emergency department with a food allergy reaction. Wow. So that's common.
Yeah.
And sadly, because of that, I believe we really do need to be working very hard towards finding a curative treatment that can switch off the allergy. And that's what I've been focusing my research on in the last 10 years. And we've been working on a combination treatment that involves a probiotic together with the allergen given as oral immunotherapy. And this treatment is taken once a day by mouth for 18 months. And what we showed in our first trial was that 82% of children developed tolerance and went home eating peanut.
Wow.
After this 18-month treatment.
That's fantastic.
Yes. And then we followed them up 4 years later and found that the majority of them were still eating peanut. So we think that our treatment may well offer an approach to at least switching off the allergy for a period of time. I can't say if it's permanent. I can say it's at least 4 years in the majority. And so we're pushing forwards now. We've got a very large trial running across 3 cities in Australia. And we're going to confirm our findings as well as prove that it's better than giving just the peanut on its own. And then, if possible, we'll try and see if it works in other food allergies.
Is this in kids or adults as well?
No, at the minute we're just studying children, but obviously that's the next step. We need to go to other foods, adults, and hopefully one day multiple foods at once.
Yeah.
I suppose a question that we should be asking you is, how do you know if your child's having an anaphylactic attack or an allergy attack?
That's a great question. So there are certain symptoms that you get when you're having an immediate reaction to a food due to allergy. The common ones are hives on your face, swelling of the face, lips, eyes. And I just think it's important for parents to understand that this is very, very frightening. To see this happening in front of your face within, seconds, but they're not life-threatening. So parents often get very anxious to see their child's face swelling up, but that isn't life-threatening to their child. What is life-threatening is when you start getting involvement of the breathing or the circulation. So if the child looks pale or floppy, if there's noisy breathing, difficulty breathing, change in the voice, that is a serious reaction, and that's what we call anaphylaxis.
And just really quickly, because we're nearly out of time, I know you've got an app out there, Allergy app. What is that? I know it's free, but what is it that parents can have a look at?
This app is a fantastic tool, and it helps parents manage their child's allergies, both when their child's with them, and also ensures that their child can stay safe when their child has to be left with a friend or grandparents or wherever.
And where can they find that?
They can download it from Apple Store as well as Google.
Excellent.
And the most important thing, actually, following on from your question about how do I know my child's having a serious reaction, is that it has a page on it where you get step-by-step instructions on how to treat an allergic reaction.
Thank you.
So you can just select.
I think that's fantastic. What you're doing is amazing. We really appreciate you coming in here to sort of share that. It's a big area. And thank you, ladies. Always a pleasure. Don't forget, you can jump onto social media and have your say. We enjoyed having you here today too. We will see you next time. Bye for now.